Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. Let me ask you a question. How many of you have heard of Ozempic? How many of you have heard of Wegovy? Everybody has, right? You can't turn on the TV, open Facebook, or watch the news without somebody talking about GLP-1 medications. And if you're like most people, you're probably thinking those are weight loss drugs. Well, yes, but that's not where the story starts. Here's the funny part. GLP-1 isn't something a pharmaceutical company invented. Your body beat them to it. Your body has been making GLP-1 every time you eat since the day you were born. The medications simply imitate something your own biology has been doing all along. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Your intestines aren't just a long tube that digests lunch. They're one of the busiest communication centers in your entire body. Every meal starts a conversation. Your gut talks to your brain, your gut talks to your pancreas, your gut talks to your immune system, your gut even influences your metabolism. The body's basically holding staff meetings all day long. And GLP-1 is one of the people carrying the messages. Now, here's the part that caught researchers by surprise. There's one tiny bacterium living in your gut that seems to help support that entire communication system. One tiny little bug out of trillions. And scientists all over the world have become fascinated by it. Why? Because in biology, communication changes everything. And that's really what today's presentation is about. Not weight loss, not drugs, communication. Because when the body systems communicate well, the body usually functions well. When that communication starts breaking down, that's when things get interesting. So, soon we'll meet the little guy that's getting all the attention. But first, what exactly is GLP-1? Who came up with that name, glucagon-like peptide? Honestly, scientists are brilliant, but they're absolutely terrible at naming things. Let's just call it GLP-1 because life's too short. Now, here's what it actually is. GLP-1 is a hormone that your body makes naturally every time you eat. Not sometimes, every single meal. And its job is surprisingly simple. It's a messenger. Think of it as the text message your gut sends after lunch. Hey everybody, food just came in. And suddenly the whole body starts responding. The pancreas gets the message, time to release some insulin. The stomach gets the message, slow things down. Let's not dump everything into the intestines all at once. The brain gets the message, hey, maybe we're full now. Put the fork down. See what's happening? One little hormone, 3 different conversations. Actually, more than 3, and that's what fascinates me. The body isn't a bunch of separate organs doing their own thing. It's more like a neighborhood, everybody talking to everybody. Now, if you grew up in Brooklyn like I did, you know exactly what I mean. One lady opens her front door and says, "Did you hear what happened to Mrs. Romano?" 5 minutes later, the entire block knows. That's your body. One message starts in the gut, and before you know it, the pancreas knows, the brain knows, your metabolism knows. Everybody got the memo. And that's why GLP-1 has become such a big deal. The medications everybody talks about, Ozempic, Wegovy, they're basically stepping into that communication system and making those messages louder and last longer. But here's the part I don't want you to miss. Those drugs didn't invent the conversation. Your body already had that conversation going. The medications simply join it. And that leads to the next question. If your body already knows how to make GLP-1, what helps that system work well in the first place? We're about to meet one of the smallest, most famous residents of your gut. But first, let me ask you something. When you think about your digestive system, what do you think it does? Most people say it digests food, and they're right, it does, but that's like saying your smartphone is just a calculator. It's doing a whole lot more than that. Your gut is one of the busiest communication centers in your entire body. Every single day, it's producing hormones, sending messages to your immune system, talking to your brain, helping regulate metabolism, and influencing inflammation. It's basically the switchboard operator for the whole body. And GLP-1 is one of those messages. Every time you eat, specialized cells in your intestine release GLP-1. And within minutes, it's talking to multiple organs. It's kind of quantum that way. The brain hears from it. The pancreas hears from it. The stomach hears. Everybody gets the message. And notice something? We've spent the last few minutes talking about communication. And that's because I don't believe the body works as a bunch of separate organs. I think of it as one big conversation. Your gut is talking to your brain talks back, the immune system joins in, the liver has something to say, even your fat tissue gets involved. Everybody's got an opinion. Now here's the problem. When communication breaks down, that's when we start seeing things like poor blood sugar regulation, constant hunger, low energy, digestive problems, inflammation. Not because one organ suddenly became bad, but because the conversation isn't working the way it should. And that's where the gut microbiome enters the story. You've got trillions of bacteria living inside of you. They're not freeloaders or hitchhikers. They're active members of the conversation. And some help and some don't. And one little bacterium has scientists all over the world paying very close attention. Its name is Akkermansia muciniphila. Don't worry, there won't be a spelling test. Let's meet the little celebrity. All right. First of all, again, who names these things? Akkermansia muciniphila. Seriously, that doesn't sound like a bacterium. It sounds like a guy I grew up with in Brooklyn. Hey, Akkermansia, how's your mother? Tell your father I said hello. Now, don't worry about remembering the name. If you leave here and can't pronounce it, you're in very good company. Just remember what it does. This little bacterium lives right next to the mucus lining of your intestine. Now, I know the minute I say the word mucus, half the room goes, ew! But here's the thing. That mucus layer isn't gross. It's one of the smartest things your body ever designed. Think about a cast iron frying pan. If you've ever owned one, you know you never scrub off that seasoned coating. That's what protects it. Take that coating away, and pretty soon everything sticks and rust starts showing up. Your intestinal lining works the same way. That mucus layer is protective. It's supposed to be there. Akkermansia lives right on top of it, not to destroy it, but to help maintain it. It actually encourages the cells underneath to keep renewing that protective barrier. Now, here's why scientists are paying attention. When that barrier is healthy, communication gets better. The gut communicates more effectively with the immune system, the brain, the pancreas, and yes, with the pathways involved in GLP-1. But notice something. Scientists aren't excited because this is some magical little bug. They're excited because it appears to help support communication. And if you've been listening, you already know my favorite word, communication. Because biology isn't about isolated organs, it's about relationships and conversations. It's about one system constantly talking to another. Now, let me leave you with one little observation. When people stop communicating, families have problems, businesses have problems, neighborhoods have problems, and governments have problems. So why would we expect the human body to be any different? When communication between body systems starts breaking down, that's when we begin seeing dysfunction. And sometimes it all starts with something as small as one little bacterium. So now let's see what happens when that communication system is working the way nature intended. So what exactly does this little guy do all day? Believe it or not, he has a full-time job. He's not making vitamins. He's not digesting your cheeseburger. He's not sitting around waiting for probiotics to show up. His job is helping take care of the protective mucus layer that lines your intestine. I know, mucus isn't exactly dinner conversation, but stay with me. This layer is incredibly important. And think about the grout between the tiles in your shower. If the grout is solid, water stays where it's supposed to stay. But once that grout starts cracking, water starts sneaking into places it doesn't belong, and pretty soon you've got mold, rotting wood, a repair bill you weren't planning on. Your intestinal barrier works the same way. Its job is to be selective. It lets nutrients come in while helping keep bacteria and toxins and partially digested food where they belong, inside the intestine. Akkermansia lives right on top of that protective layer, and one of its jobs is encouraging the cells underneath to keep repairing and renewing that barrier. And that's one reason why researchers have become so interested in it, because a healthy barrier doesn't just help digestion, it may also support a healthy immune function, healthy metabolism, and better communication between the gut and the rest of the body. See, there's that word again, communication. Everything we've talked about today keeps coming back to one simple idea. Healthy communication helps the body regulate itself. Growing up, every apartment building had a superintendent. Nobody ever talked about the super. Nobody put him on the cover of a magazine. Nobody invited him over for Sunday dinner. But let one pipe burst, and suddenly everybody's asking, "Where's the super?" Akkermansia is kind of the superintendent of your gut. If it's quietly doing its job, everything runs a whole lot smoother. And most people never even know it's there. All right, let's put all the pieces together, because this is really what today's presentation is all about. We start with Akkermansia, but remember, Akkermansia isn't making GLP-1. It's doing something just as important. It's helping create the kind of environment where your own body can do what it was designed to do. Think of it this way. If you own a restaurant, you don't start by yelling at the chef. You make sure the kitchen works, the equipment works, the ingredients are fresh, the staff can do their jobs. When the environment is right, good things happen. Your gut works the same way. Akkermansia helps maintain that protective barrier, which supports the intestinal cells, which naturally produce GLP-1 after you eat. And then GLP-1 sends a message to the brain, we've had enough to eat. It sends a message to the pancreas, food's coming in, time to manage blood sugar. It slows the stomach down. It helps coordinate metabolism. One signal, multiple conversations. So, if you've noticed what we have been discussing through this whole presentation, it's not really about bacteria, it's really about communication. One healthy bacterium supports one healthy gut barrier, which supports one healthy hormone, which starts a conversation with the rest of the body. That's systems biology. The body isn't a pile of unrelated organs. It's one enormous communication network. Growing up, if one neighbor knew something, everybody knew something. Mrs. Rossi tells Mrs. Romano, Mrs. Romano tells Mr. Goldberg, and somehow my mother knew what I did before I got home. That's your body. One message starts in the gut, and before you know it, the brain knows, the pancreas knows, the liver knows, metabolism knows, everybody's in on the conversation. Now, here's the exciting part. If researchers are paying this much attention to one little bacterium, the obvious question is, can we actually increase it? And the answer is yes. Let's talk about how. By now you're probably wondering, okay, how do I get more of this stuff? Fair question. And the answer is, you can support Akkermansia, but maybe not the way you're hoping. Because here's what we do. We hear about one exciting discovery, and we immediately ask, where can I buy it? That's human nature. But biology doesn't always cooperate. Remember, we're talking about an ecosystem. If you've got weeds all over your yard, you don't spray green paint on the grass and call it landscaping. You fix the soil. The same thing happens inside of your gut. Your bacteria are living in an environment, and if that environment improves, the good guys usually have a much easier time doing their jobs. So what helps? A diet rich in a variety of plant fibers, which act as prebiotics, lots of colorful fruits and vegetables, foods rich in polyphenols, things like berries, green tea, pomegranates, and cocoa, and many herbs. These compounds appear to encourage the growth of beneficial bacteria, including Akkermansia. Then there's the stuff nobody wants to hear. Exercise matters, sleep matters, managing stress matters, because every one of those changes the environment inside your gut. See? Everything affects everything. Now, yes, researchers have developed supplements containing Akkermansia, and there are also postbiotics being studied for their potential role in metabolic health, and that's exciting research. But here's how I look at supplements. They don't replace biology, they support biology, and that's a big difference. You can't eat cheesecake for breakfast, pizza for lunch, cannoli for dinner, take one probiotic, and expect your gut to throw you a standing ovation. Your microbiome is sitting there going, really? This is the plan? I mean, to some people, this might sound like a pretty good day, but your bacteria are a whole lot smarter than we give them credit for. So if there's one thing I hope you remember today, it isn't Akkermansia, it isn't GLP-1, it isn't Ozempic, it's this. The human body is constantly communicating with itself. And the healthier that communication becomes, the healthier we become. Before we finish, I want to leave you with one thought. We've spent the last few minutes talking about one tiny little bacterium, Akkermansia. Poor little guy probably never imagined this much attention. But here's the thing. In my clinical practice, I never look at just one bacterium. Never. Because your microbiome isn't one organism. It's an entire neighborhood. Actually, it's more like New York City. You've got millions of residents. Some get along, some don't. Some are incredibly productive. Some create a little chaos. But together, they create an ecosystem. And that's exactly how your gut works. Every species affects another species. Together, they influence digestion, immune function, inflammation, metabolism, even the conversations taking place between your gut and your brain. And that's why I don't get too excited about chasing the newest miracle supplement or the newest social media trend or the latest headline that produces to change your life by Tuesday. I'm much more interested in asking a different question. What is your body trying to tell you? Because symptoms aren't random, they're information. Your fatigue is information. Your bloating is information. Cravings are information. Even your body saying something isn't right, that's information. Our job isn't to silence the messenger. Our job is to understand the message. Sometimes that message starts in the gut. Sometimes it starts somewhere else. But wherever it begins, the goal is always the same. Understand the pattern, not just the symptom, because that's where good clinical work begins. The body is always communicating, and for many years, it's been my job to learn its language. So here's what I'd like you to remember. The next time you hear someone talking about GLP-1 or the gut microbiome or the latest miracle supplement, remember, there's always a bigger story. Every body is different. Every patient is different. And that's why I don't guess. I ask questions. I look for patterns. I use laboratory testing as one tool, not the entire answer. Because test results never tell the whole story. People do. Thanks, everyone. It was a pleasure spending some time with you today. Take care of yourselves and don't forget to feed your bacteria.